I have two words for you. Chevron. Encoded.
Oh, wow.
For well over a decade, we have been waiting for that final lock sound. And now finally, after all the false starts, the rumors.
And that huge Amazon acquisition of MGM.
Exactly. After all of that, the gate is officially spinning again. Stargate is coming back. Okay, let's dive right in. This is monumental. For anyone out there who has been waiting, over a decade for a gate to open again?
Yeah.
This is it.
This is absolutely it. I mean, for years, this franchise has just been trapped.
Right. Total development hell, false starts, we heard about conflicts, and then just studio silence.
For years. And now, Amazon MGM Studios has officially greenlit a new Stargate television series, global release on Prime Video.
It's real. It's actually happening.
It's hard to even process. You have to go all the way back to 2011, Stargate Universe's last episode, Gauntlet. That was the last time we saw anything new.
14 years.
14 years. That's an eternity in TV.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the reaction online, and for this deep dive, we're really focusing on this huge, almost party-like discussion led by Joe Mallozzi, the longtime writer over on Reddit, the feeling is it's way beyond simple excitement.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just, hey, a new show is coming. Fans are literally describing this as getting an old friend back.
That's the perfect way to put it.
For a community that, let's be honest, had pretty much given up hope, this news is being called a genuine ray of light. People are talking about it as this huge morale boost, a needed escape.
It's this profound sense of relief, and that relief is so justified. So I think our mission today has to be, to dive into that massive wave of excitement, but, with a level head.
Right.
We need to look at what having the original creative team back actually guarantees for continuity. But then, and this is critical, we have to drill down into the community's worries.
Because that's the other side of the coin, isn't it?
Yeah.
Modern Hollywood, the whole streaming machine.
Yeah.
It plays by a totally different set of rules than the cable networks that gave us SG-1 and Atlantis.
Completely different.
So fans are immediately asking the big question. Can the classic Stargate format, the thing they fell in love with, that structure built on weekly adventures, can it even survive in this era of short seasons, binge-watching, and nonstop spectacle?
It's a blueprint analysis, really, for reviving any beloved IP. We're talking about a franchise with 17 seasons, something like 350 hours of canon.
A huge amount of history.
So the challenge for the producers is, it's threading a needle. You have to honor that massive history, but you also have to make the new show a good entry point for Prime Video's huge global audience who might not know a Goa'uld from a Jaffa.
It's a delicate balancing act. And not a lot of modern revivals actually manage to pull it off.
Very few.
Okay, so let's start with the good stuff. Let's start with where all this optimism is coming from, the people in charge. The thing that really calmed the waters, I think, the thing that quieted that initial skepticism when you just hear the word Amazon, was finding out who was in the pilot seat. Amazon MGM Studios ordered the series, okay? But the real assurance for the fans is that Martin Gero is the one leading the charge. Creator, writer, showrunner, executive producer. He's the guy.
And this is what's so fascinating. Gero isn't just some big name they hired for the job. He's a genuine Stargate veteran.
Right. This isn't some executive coming in trying to cash in on a brand name.
Not at all. This is someone who, he cut his teeth on this franchise. He spent 5 years writing and producing across all 3 of the shows, SG-1, Atlantis, and Universe.
And he wasn't just passing through either. His history goes deep. 20 years ago, he started as a story editor on Stargate. Atlantis.
Yeah.
He said it was his first real job in television.
And he's been quoted saying the franchise literally taught him everything about making television.
See, that's what matters.
That investment, both professional and emotional, is everything to this fan base. They need to know the person in charge gets the difference between a Goa'uld and a Wraith. That Gero doesn't need to open Wikipedia to get the lore right.
Exactly.
When your creative lead has that kind of deep personal history with the material, it calms the biggest fan fear, which is that the thing they love is going to be treated carelessly.
And he's not alone either. He's not operating in a vacuum. He's brought back what the community is calling, affectionately, the original guard. We've got Brad Wright, the co-creator, the co-showrunner of all 3 original series. He's on board as a consulting producer.
And Joe Mallozzi, who we mentioned, who's been this just crucial line of communication to the fans during all these silent years, he's also a consulting producer.
You really can't overstate how significant that is, having Gero, Wright, and Mallozzi involved.
No, you can't.
We see this all the time in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
An IP gets rebooted by a totally new team who a lot of the time seem to kind of dismiss the old stuff.
Or actively resent it.
Yeah. But here, you have the actual architects of the canon consulting and guiding this new chapter.
It's everything. Fans who initially had, as Mallozzi put it, bad thoughts when they first heard Amazon Stargate.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They immediately changed their tune. The feeling shifted to everything is all right with Stargate as soon as that creative team was announced. It just signals this direct commitment to maintaining the DNA of the series.
It means they aren't just strip mining the IP for brand recognition.
And to really lock that in, the original 1994 film creators, Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich, are also attached as executive producers.
That's interesting. Emmerich had seemed reluctant to come back to the franchise before.
He had. This is probably more of a contractual thing, given Amazon owns the whole IP now, but still. It rounds out this incredibly decorated list of legacy creators.
So this long list of names is basically the shield against that biggest fan anxiety.
Yeah.
The hard reboot.
The hard reboot. The complete slate wipe that just takes the title and throws out everything else. And Gero has been crystal clear in his messaging on this. This is not a reboot. It's not a wholesale reimagining that ignores 17 years of stories.
They're calling it a continuation,
Yeah.
a new chapter. And they have a really smart, commercially sound strategy for how to use all that history while still being welcoming to new people.
Gero said the series will absolutely honor the existing canon, but it's being specifically designed to be the perfect jumping-on point for first-time viewers.
And that's the key to reviving an IP today, isn't it?
It is.
Let's break that down a bit, because it's kind of brilliant cross-marketing for Amazon. If the new show hooks a newcomer with, exciting new adventures, they watch 8 episodes, they love the concept of a gate that goes to other planets, what do they do next?
They dive right into the massive back catalog that Amazon just happens to own.
Exactly.
The platform can use all the hype from the new show to basically market 350 hours of existing content. It keeps the whole ecosystem alive. It drives watch time across the platform. It justifies the huge investment they made in the IP in the first place.
It turns the old seasons from, dusty archive content into essential viewing for the new hit show.
So there's a real financial incentive for the showrunner to get the legacy stuff right.
Right, to respect it.
And from what we're hearing from Joe Mallozzi, who, he read Gero's pilot script over a year ago, the tone should really satisfy those longtime fans who are looking for that old comfort show feeling.
What did he say exactly?
He said the pilot embraces everything that made the original Stargate so great.
He actually gave a checklist, which it reads like a direct answer to some of the complaints people had about Stargate Universe's tone.
It really does. He promised heart, humor, rich mythology, exploration, action, adventure, compelling, endearing characters, and this is the big one, that overall sense of optimism and fun.
Optimism and fun. That's the signifier right there.
That's it. The original shows, especially SG-1 and Atlantis, they were military sci-fi for sure, but they had this core of hopeful exploration. They weren't bleak.
No.
They were about smart people solving problems with great camaraderie. It sounds like Gero is signaling a very clear departure from the sometimes darker, more melodramatic tone that defined SGU's early days.
And the emotional weight of this whole announcement is just it's still echoing through the community. The fact that fans were saying they cried tears of happiness, that's not a small thing.
No, it's profound.
This is more than just TV for a lot of people. It's comfort media. We saw people talking about how they use SG-1 as a reliable escape when they're dealing with depression and mental health stuff. And for them, this news was a huge morale boost. Suddenly having something to look forward to and live for now.
That link between long-term comfort media and personal well-being is very real. After 14 years getting a beloved, dependable fictional universe back, it offers this incredible sense of stability and renewed hope. It's an escape hatch.
We do have to balance that real emotional reaction with the hard reality of Hollywood production.
Yeah.
This show isn't dropping next week. Mallozzi was quick to temper the excitement a little by laying out the process. They still have to build a writer's room, finalize the stories, hire the crew, cast the actors, and then actually film the thing.
Given those lead times, yeah, the community is basically predicting we shouldn't expect to see this on Prime Video until, late 2027, maybe even early 2028.
So it's a long wait.
It's a patient wait. Gero's laid the groundwork with the pilot script and the series Bible, but yeah. The gate is open, but the kawoosh, that iconic defining sound and visual, is still a few years away.
Okay, so let's pivot now. Let's talk about the source of the anxiety, because it's not personal. It's structural.
Right. Fans trust the creative team, but they deeply, deeply mistrust the mechanics of modern streaming TV.
The conflict really just boils down to rhythm, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All that enthusiasm for the show's return is being weighed down by this deep worry that modern production patterns are going to betray the very structure that made the originals work.
This is the existential challenge for, I think, any sci-fi revival that came from the pre-streaming world.
Sure.
The classic shows, SG-1, Atlantis, Star Trek, The Next Generation, they were built on what's called the syndication model. They had to make 20 to even 26 episodes a season to sell to broadcast partners and have enough content for reruns.
And fans miss that. They miss that long season format.
Yeah.
Profoundly.
And it's an argument that goes way beyond just wanting more content. Fans are arguing that the length is critical for the quality.
Yeah, the discussions online are so detailed. People are explicitly asking for the Planet of the Week stories back, the low-stakes filler episodes,
The character-driven bottle episodes where it's all on one set.
even the bureaucratic Washington, D.C. intrigue episodes.
And they recognize that those episodes, the ones that seem disposable, were actually essential for world building and character development.
Right.
When you have a 22-episode season, you have breathing room. You don't have to desperately push the main season-long story forward every single minute. You can spend a whole hour on two characters in the mess hall talking about their feelings.
Or getting into some quirky, low-stakes alien culture clash that has nothing to do with saving the galaxy.
And those moments of downtime, that's
Right.
what builds real attachment from the audience. It's how you fall in love with the characters as people, not just as, plot devices.
Brandon Braga, who's a veteran of that long-form Star Trek, he famously complained about this shift. He said that modern short streaming seasons feel like Tinder relationships compared to the long-term committed relationship viewers had with the old 20-plus episode shows.
That Tinder relationship analogy is it's so perfect.
It is.
It captures that fleeting, almost disposable nature of short-run prestige TV.
Yeah.
You get 8 hours, the plot hits its marks, and then poof, the show is gone for 2 years.
Stargate fans want a commitment. They want 22 weeks of comfortable, reliable engagement.
But here's where the reality of the Amazon pattern just slams right into that fan desire. The core fear is that Amazon, just following its usual prestige streaming formula, which we see with basically all its big IP investments, is only going to order an 8 to 10 episode season.
And a lot of fans feel like that fear was basically confirmed by one specific budget-related comment from Brad Wright. He mentioned the new show will have much greater effects.
Which immediately triggers that calculation in your head. Spectacle versus substance.
Exactly. High-end, movie-quality visual effects, which is what you'd expect from a huge Amazon show, they cost a fortune. And the only way to manage that kind of budget is to cut the episode count.
You just can't afford weekly movie-level VFX across 20-plus episodes unless your budget is, truly astronomical, which is usually reserved for, their flagship fantasy shows.
So fans are faced with this stark choice: a short season with amazing visuals or a long season with more traditional, moderate sci-fi effects.
And here is where it gets really interesting, and it kind of runs counter to every modern TV trend.
Right.
A lot of fans are explicitly saying they would prefer lower production values and fewer visual effects if it meant getting enough episodes for character stories.
They're literally pleading for substance over spectacle.
Yeah.
They don't want a show that has to constantly, desperately drive the main arc forward or justify its VFX budget with a giant explosion every 10 minutes.
And this is where the Deep Space Nine analogy kept coming up. Older shows, because they were constrained by budget, had to be clever. Fans were remembering how, in DS9, characters might leave the station, go have some epic battle, and then just come back to Quark's bar and talk about the amazing adventure they just had off camera.
A modern show would spend millions to show, don't tell, because they think the audience needs that constant stimulation. But back in the 90s, they were forced to spend those 44 minutes on interesting character stuff.
Nuanced moral debates, interpersonal banter.
And the argument is really compelling. Every minute you spend on $1 million explosion is a minute you don't spend on character development or a quirky side plot.
The fans are basically arguing that the episodic, lower-budget nature of the old shows accidentally forced better writing and better character chemistry, and they're worried that a huge budget will actually dilute the story.
This all ties into that broader Amazon pattern fear. The community is, they're cautiously optimistic, but they're very aware of Amazon's inconsistent track record with big beloved IPs.
They do point to the successes. They point to the fact that Amazon can get it right.
Like Fallout. They all acknowledge Amazon totally nailed the tone and humor of Fallout.
And they rescued The Expanse after it was canceled, which is often held up as the gold standard for how Amazon should handle Stargate.
But the caution, of course, comes from the fantasy side of their catalog. People look at what happened with the Rings of Power and the Wheel of Time, and both of those generated, well, a lot of worry and disappointment among their fan bases.
And it's worth unpacking why those adaptations fuel this anxiety. With The Wheel of Time, the fan critique was often about rapid-fire lore changes, trying to condense this massive book series into a few short seasons, which just fundamentally changed the pacing and characters.
Yeah, and with Rings of Power, the complaints were more about aesthetic choices, perceived changes to Tolkien's lore, and a tone that just didn't always feel like Middle-earth. It proved that a giant Amazon budget doesn't automatically guarantee a faithful adaptation.
The key difference, like you said, is The Expanse. That was a special case because the actual authors of the books, Daniel Abraham and Ty Franck, were writers and driving forces on the show from beginning to end, even after it moved to Amazon.
So they had direct authorial control.
Exactly. It meant the adaptation stayed fiercely loyal to the source material.
And the Stargate community knows that even with Gero, Wright, and Mallozzi, they might not have that same level of absolute control, especially when Amazon's budget demands start influencing things.
Which leads to the ultimate fear, structurally, that the new show will adopt what one commenter called the Winnie Dark aesthetic.
Witty dark.
It's a shorthand for a style that's just heavy on melodrama, ridiculously dark lighting, and characters who are constantly complaining or having moral crises.
And we saw this specific concern because a lot of fans felt the first season of Stargate Universe leaned too hard into that style. It was trying to copy the darker serialized hits of its time, like Battlestar Galactica or, what we'd now see in something like Andor.
And that aesthetic just fundamentally violates Gero's core promise of optimism and fun.
Right.
Stargate fans want high-stakes action and adventure, but they want it with military professionalism and humor. Think Harrison Ford or Bruce Willis quipping under fire. They don't want a brooding, poorly lit melodrama where everyone is constantly on the verge of an emotional breakdown.
The message from the fans is crystal clear.
Yeah.
Don't confuse being serious about the stakes with being depressing about the tone.
Exactly. They want smart military sci-fi, not doom and gloom.
And that's a really critical distinction for the creative team to navigate. Okay, so we've covered the team, we've covered the structural anxiety. Let's get down to the brass tacks, the specific wish list, especially when it comes to plot. Since this is a continuation, a new chapter, it immediately brings up these huge, unresolved questions from the two shows that were canceled. Universe and Atlantis.
And the Stargate Universe dilemma is it's the most painful, most dramatic cliffhanger in the entire franchise's history, no question.
The crew of the Destiny, millions of light years from home, they go into stasis for this long journey, and Eli Wallace, he's the only one left awake.
Facing this impossible task of fixing the last broken stasis pod, fans desperately, desperately need closure on Eli and the rest of the crew.
The fan theories on how to resolve this have been going for over a decade now. They range from, the new SG team just stumbles upon the ship drifting out in deep space,
to a huge time jump where Eli's the only survivor, and he's become this hyper-competent, lone wolf guardian of the ship.
and we can't forget that amazing theory that David Blue, the actor who played Eli, joked about with Brad Wright years ago.
The Rambo moment.
The Rambo moment.
Yeah.
Eli emerges after 3 years, totally transformed, doing pull-ups with a handmade peg leg, completely hardened by the solitude.
Wielding some custom-built alien energy cannon, it would be amazing fan service.
Glorious.
Ah.
But it brings us right to the massive canonical problem created by the time gap and by the franchise's own technological history.
And this is Gero's biggest writing challenge right here. By the end of SG-1 and Atlantis, Earth wasn't some new kid on the block anymore. They had acquired incredible power.
Most importantly, the entire Asgard knowledge database.
Literally the accumulated wisdom of a dead, hyper-advanced civilization, plus advanced hyperdrives and ZPMs.
Let's quickly define that for any newcomers. ZPM is a zero-point module. It's an alien power source that pulls energy from subspace. Basically limitless power for advanced tech.
Exactly. So with Asgard hyperdrives, which are ridiculously fast, and ZPM power, Even if the Destiny is billions of light years away, a rescue mission should have been, theoretically, a technical certainty within a couple of years of the show ending.
The only reason they weren't rescued in the 14 years since is because the show got canceled.
So the new series has to confront this power creep problem head on. They need a very, very good, believable reason why Earth didn't just build an Asgard-powered sprint ship or pump enough ZPM power into the Stargate to dial the Destiny's 9 chevron address.
The in-universe justification has to be rock solid. They either have to find a way to nerf humanity, as they say, or explain some massive political or technological setback.
You can speculate on a few ways to do it.
Okay, let's hear them.
One could be political. Maybe all that Asgard power was deemed too dangerous. An international treaty, a secret UN mandate that restricted the most advanced military tech to stop a global arms race? So they mothballed the Asgard FTL drive.
Or a resource problem. Maybe they used up all the stable ZPMs fighting some new threat in those intervening years. Or some galactic event broke a key component of the Asgard drive. So deep space travel is just impossible right now.
Or the most dramatic but also narratively neatest solution. It's geographical. Maybe the Destiny isn't just far away. Maybe it drifted into some weird radiation zone or a patch of space with different physical laws, putting it totally outside the range of standard Asgard tech.
Whatever they choose, they have to acknowledge the power that was already established. You can't just introduce a new team exploring the local galaxy when the Destiny crew is just forgotten. Resolving the SGU cliffhanger is the single biggest test of continuity for this new show, hands down.
Then we had the Atlantis question, which is all about Earth. Stargate. Atlantis ended with the entire city, this massive ancient spaceship, landing in the ocean near the San Francisco Bay.
Right next to the Golden Gate Bridge. That moment officially lets the cat out of the bag.
You cannot hide a continent-sized alien city parked in your harbor. So that ending pretty much screamed that the Stargate program was finally going public, that global society had to face the fact that they were now an intergalactic superpower.
So fans are speculating, okay, the new show has to address the consequences of that. What's the political fallout? Are there UN oversight committees running everything? Is the U.S. government trying to justify these insane budgets?
One fan laid out this perfect scenario where a big part of the story follows General Carter Amanda Tapping running the SGC under intense public scrutiny, while Richard Woolsey, Robert Picardo's character, is leading a colony in the Pegasus galaxy, dealing with all the bureaucratic nightmares of intergalactic expansion. You just can't ignore it. You can't go back to it being a secret program when Earth now owns the most advanced piece of real estate in the galaxy.
Okay, so beyond these huge plot resolutions, there's also a very detailed wish list of aesthetic things, core tonal specifics that fans feel are just non-negotiable.
First and foremost, the core tone. A return to light-hearted adventures, a focus on military decorum and tactics, and crucially, dialogue that is not dumbed down.
Right. They don't want a second screen show where the dialogue is constantly explaining what just happened because they assume you're looking at your phone.
They want the smart, witty dialogue that define the interactions between, O'Neill and TLT.
And then there are the little nostalgic physical details that mean so much to a legacy fan base.
Number one request, repeated over and over. The Stargate has to spin when it dials.
Spinning is so much cooler than not spinning.
It sounds minor, but the sound of those chevrons locking, the visual of the inner ring rotating, it's part of the ritual. They briefly had non-spinning gates in the early seasons, and people complained. The new team has to get that visceral, mechanical detail right.
They also want the P90 back.
The P90, that compact little submachine gun that became the iconic weapon of the SGC.
The everything gun.
It was. It could seemingly defeat anyone from a random guard to a powerful gold Jaffa. One fan specifically said the show is why the P90 is their favorite gun in every video game they play.
That's the power of the show's iconography. And of course, the kawoosh.
The kawoosh, that incredible sound and visual of the unstable energy vortex erupting from the gate when it connects, it is the sound of Stargate.
It's the sound of possibility and danger all at once.
It has to be there. It can be updated, look impressive, but it has to have that core sonic quality that fans have memorized.
And we can't forget the inside jokes, the self-referential humor, the perennial request for the return of Wormhole Extreme.
The hilarious, low-budget, in-universe parody of the SGC's own missions.
That kind of goofy self-awareness is essential to the tone. It stops the show from ever taking itself too seriously, even when the stakes are literally the end of the universe.
Yeah.
It's that Galaxy Quest vibe mixed in with the serious stuff.
Totally. And finally, casting. A new cast is expected, obviously, but the hope for cameos or returning roles is incredibly high.
Christopher Judge, who played Teal Streak and has been a huge advocate for bringing the show back, he feels like a must-have.
As do the other pillars. Amanda Tapping as General Carter, Robert Picardo as the wonderfully stuffy Richard Woolsey, David Hewlett as the constantly panicking Rodney McKay.
And hey, even Jason Momoa, who played Ron and Dex. Imagine him coming back to guide a new team.
The consensus seems to be that if they can just get one of the big three, O'Neill, Carter, or Tealshrick, for even a small run or a passing of the torch moment, it provides the perfect legitimacy for the new cast.
It bridges that 14-year gap instantly.
It connects the new chapter to the old family. And that feeling of family is, I think, ultimately what fans are looking for more than any special effect.
So let's bring this deep dive back home. Let's summarize the huge task that's ahead for Amazon and Martin Gero. We've confirmed the news is real. Stargate is coming back to Prime Video. It's explicitly a continuation, a new chapter, not a reboot. And it's being led by franchise veterans, which guarantees a certain level of respect for all that lore.
But the central tension remains very acute. It's this conflict between the traditional, beloved episodic structure, the 20-plus episodes that allowed for deep character work and fun filler, and the modern reality of streaming.
And that reality demands tight, serialized short seasons with movie-level effects that just fundamentally change the rhythm of a show.
This tension, more than any villain or political plot, is going to define whether this show succeeds. Will it feel like that comfortable, long-term commitment that fans want? Or will it be the fleeting, high-spectacle blockbuster that Amazon usually makes?
And for you, the longtime fan who has waited 14 years for that gate to spin up again, the single most critical test of continuity, the moment that will tell you if this new chapter truly respects your investment, is going to be the decision the creative team makes about the crew of the Destiny.
That is the ultimate canonical weight hanging over this whole franchise.
Will Martin Gero, Brad Wright, and Joe Mallozzi use Amazon's immense resources to finally give us the closure for Eli Wallace and the Destiny crew that we have desperately waited 14 years for?
Or will that emotional investment just remain a lingering, painful mystery, forever drifting billions of light years between galaxies?
That question, and the canonical justification they use to answer it, is going to be the first true gate they have to pass through.